Shirley, tell us, how big is your family?
Wow. Well, my grandmother on my mom's side had 21 children. And at one time, I had about 54 first cousins, people deceased or whatever. But at one time, I had 54 cousins, first
And you
cousins.
knew them all by name.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, they knew who you were. That's good.
Maybe I wasn't that close. We lived in different
Right.
states and cities, of course. But yeah. And my mother was the 11th child of, and actually my grandfather had two outside children, so he
Yeah,
had
yeah.
23, but my grandmother
Wow.
had 21. So
Where
yeah,
did where did you grow up?
Watts, California. I was
So,
born in
so give us the
Arkansas.
background because I know it. But, so
Well,
you've got a huge family, but who raised you?
my grandmother and grandfather, my
Uh-huh.
mother's parents. I didn't really know my dad or his family, but I saw him a couple of times. But yeah, my
Is
mother's.
that the Jones
Uh
that
huh.
your mom had put?
Mhm.
That's right. You told me
Mhm.
that.
But yeah, my grandmother and grandfather raised me in the projects in Watts. We left Arkansas when I was. My mother died when I was 2.5. So we headed to L.A. when I was about 3.5, something like that. So
Yeah. So all of your memories are from Watts, California.
basically,
What was
yes.
that like growing up there?
Well,
Just because
my
people with this
grandmother was
podcast may have no
strict.
idea. So
Well, yeah, my grandmother was strict. I had to come in before the street lights came on, and most of my friends were raised by younger people, but I was raised by older people, so that was kind of
if your mom
different.
was the 11th child, yeah,
So,
they were.
my friends that I grew up with, they had like younger parents, and they could like stay out a little bit, but I was raised by old people, so I had to come in and
Are they like you and I? Okay, it's 7:30. It's time to sleep now. I totally did that last night. So yeah.
yeah, it was interesting, but they were good people, good old country people from Arkansas,
What were some of the things you learned from them? Because you
To
told
be
me some of it.
kind,
Yep.
to that people are going to judge you by the color of your skin, but don't
Uh-huh.
you do that. And God made
I
us
want you to
all.
talk more on that because we've gone deeper on that in our walks and talks.
Yeah.
So what does that mean when
Uh,
when I say that to you?
well, I didn't understand when she first said it.
Yeah.
She was like, when you grow up, people are going to treat you different because of the color of your
Yeah.
skin and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then when I grew up and went to college, that's when I kind of felt, um, kind of prejudice. People look at you and,
Did you
and
feel
just
like people looked at you differently?
sometimes,
Or
it
you
depends on
treated
where you
differently?
are. Um,
And so did you have to remember that a lot, what grandma taught you?
I kind of like just did what she said, treat everybody, kind, and um, don't judge them like they're going to judge you. It really didn't bother me that much because of my grandparents, my grandmother, and she, God, Jesus. She was a Christian,
So
Jesus.
what did she
Whenever you
teach
have
you about
nothing,
that?
well, I remember one time when I lived in my own apartment in San Diego, and she used to call me a lot. She was still in LA. So she called me one time and she said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing." So she kind of gave me a lecture. Don't you ever say nothing. You could always think about God or Jesus. So when someone say, "What are you doing?" you never say nothing. You better say, "I'm thinking about Jesus" or something. Or yeah, she said, it's always something to do, and you can always think about God and Jesus. So yeah, she was tripped. She was about 4'11". So when I grew up and I started getting taller than her, I'm like, "Ooh, I'm getting taller than you, Mama." And she said, "That's all right, because I could knock up like I can knock down. So don't think you're getting too big."
What other
I thought that
life
was kind of
lessons did
funny.
your grandma give you?
Just she always tried to get me to save money and and be mindful, and I was kind of like absent-minded. She would say, "Go upstairs and get the broom," and the broom would be behind the door, but I would look up. I don't see it. I don't see it. I never want to. I was kind of lazy like I am now. I didn't want to do anything, but she always, had me. I had chores, and my grandfather made me do stuff. I had to make cornbread. So when it was my turn to cook, I would do tacos and, Kool-Aid or tuna sandwiches with potato chips. So he said, "You make cornbread?" I'm like, cornbread doesn't go with this. But that was his way of trying to get me to do something, have responsibility. But, yes.
Do you feel like
I
you
missed
learned all
him.
that? And you got a
Um,
better person?
well, n- maybe.
Shirley, how do you think, you've lived life, right?
Yes,
Do you think you've been
know,
able to apply all those
I
lessons?
I think that my deceased mother asked God to surround me with good people, and I've been very blessed over the years to be around really good, great people. I moved in a neighborhood where I have great neighbors, the Marxes and the other neighbors there, and it's just been good. I've been
She still
blessed enough to
talks to
be
me,
around.
actually, no.
Just been, blessed to be around good people, and you can kind of tell, you can weed them out. Like I went in Walmart one day, and this lady was with her two daughters, and she pretended like she was gonna run me over, and you could tell she was just being prejudiced. So I thought about this later, but I just stopped and looked at her. Like, girl, I will snatch you. I wasn't gonna do anything, but I pretended. I just stopped and looked at her. But what I should have said is, this what you teaching your daughters to be
Did
this
you
way?
ask her that?
No, I thought about that later. I was so mad at her doing that. I didn't think about it until later. But this is what you're teaching your children. This is what you're teaching your daughters. Do you see somebody other than, black or whatever, or a minority, you teaching them, run them over. Is that what you teaching your children? I wish I would have thought of that, but that was
Shirley,
kind of
how
after the fact.
often, I mean, your grandma taught you, it sounds like that lesson right pretty soon in your
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
I mean, what have you learned as you've had to apply that? Because there's one example. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I
How
learned
many of
that
us
I
have
don't
to
let
do
anybody.
that? I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't let anybody push me. When it depends, it depends on the person. Like, I have friends that I know their father is prejudiced, and I just hug them anyway. I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you." They're just stupid.
Is that
But I
'cause
do
you're
it on
hugging a
purpose.
stranger for the first time?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm weird like
yeah.
that. So just because I know that they're prejudiced, so I just do that just because.
Sure.
Just it makes me laugh. It's funny because they're like, "She's hugging me. Oh no,
I
oh
was just
no."
saying, has there been like a memorable moment, like where you're like, you really had to work hard to remember that lesson Grandma had taught you?
Oh yeah. You know, I lived in El Cajon, this city in San Diego, and I was walking from the store, and these young white kids in the car yelled out the N word, and I just yelled back or whatever. Yeah, I forget that because people are so rude.
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna sit there and just not say anything. And I remember I cut this man off. I didn't know I did this. So he happened to be white, and he had his wife or a lady and a kid in the car. So I didn't know I jumped in front of him. It was a weird intersection in El Cajon. So when I got to the stop, you make a left turn. I got to the stoplight. So he came on the other side of me. He got out of his car and was yelling at me. And I looked over at his family, and they were like, "Oh God, he's crazy." And it was kind of weird. So the only thing I could do, I rolled my window down a little bit. I said, "God bless you, sir." He got so mad. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say because I was scared. Like, he might have a gun, but I said, "God bless you, sir." He's, you know. But I just thought fast like that. But it was weird.
You've been in some weird moments.
Yeah,
sounds like.
a little bit, but not like really where they have guns and gonna cut me and stuff, but just little remarks, little
So let me
little
ask,
snide remarks.
let me
But
ask this, because I know you've expressed some of like what you've experienced here as you've talked, as we've walked and talked. But what has given you the strength to get through it?
God,
So
and
talk
hearing
to
my
that a little bit, would
grandmother
you please talk more to that?
about God.
Yeah, just like how have you found strength from him?
I was taught that that Jesus and God is your savior. When you ever get backed up into a corner, just lean on God or lean on Jesus, and that's not always easy, but I guess that's what got me this far. Now, I mean, I'm still a little nuts, and if someone, I have a problem with people making me belittling me, making me feel
Small.
small, and that's when I don't even know myself when that happens.
Do you get angry?
I'm like, who is that person? I get really mad, and I have some choice words because I don't. It's this thing about people making you feel little, and something comes out on me where I'm like, I don't even know myself, and I'm like, wait a minute, you know. One of my ex bosses was talking down to me one time. He was a maintenance guy, and I worked in the kiosk at Cuyamaca Rancho State Park in Julian, California, and I was at the working in the kiosk, and he said something to me that pissed me off so bad, and I said a choice words, and I slammed the door in his face. And after the door had glass.
I can picture this, by the way.
I mean, I had the glass door, and after I did, I'm like, oh my God, that door could have. I was so scared, but I was so mad. At that second, I didn't care, but afterwards, I'm like, girl, if you would have broke that door and maintenance would have had to fix it and blah, 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 blah. But at that time, when he belittled me, I didn't know I didn't know that person. I just went off. And then he said, do you need a hug? No, I don't need a hug. Just leave me alone, and I'm normally pretty nice, but but when someone makes me feel little or disrespect me, sometimes I walk away, but not very often.
I mean, it sounds like this has happened to you quite a bit. From what you're saying.
Just here and there, yeah.
But
most people are awesome, though.
So I'm doing this podcast, the Look Upward and Look Outward.
Look upward and look.
Lulo, I'm calling my Lulo threads. You're one of them for me.
Woo-hoo.
This girl has lifted me so many times. And, I call her Shirley girl. And,
Thank you, Candace.
But
same here.
just as you look at kind of your own life with this, so you've said you turn to God.
Yeah.
And you've been so angry sometimes. It sounds like it's like you lose control sometimes. Like just you're forgetting. It sounds like who
sometimes,
right?
But the great part about that is I don't stay angry long. Yeah. Once I get it out and I'm good and it doesn't fester, it doesn't last. But sometimes people just piss you off because they're rude, they're nasty, and they're just, but
like the woman in the parking lot.
Yeah, that was silly.
Yeah.
But we're human. I mean, I go to God. I listen. I have to talk to God sometimes. I do all the time, but I just have to say, dude, this world is a trip, and that you have to forgive me, Lord. But sometimes it's just up to here.
So what has He helped you to figure out as you do that?
The good Lord has helped me figure out that people are people. Everybody want the best for their children, just like whites, blacks, all races want the best for their children, just like everybody else does. Everybody gets up, everybody has a mother, everybody has a father, cousins, sisters, and brothers. And one thing I learned that you never know why those people are like that. People have bad childhoods. People, a black person could have beat them up one day and they see me, I might look like the person. So you just never know what are they going through inside. So a lot of times I can say, maybe they're going through something. But sometimes, like you said, you forget and you protecting yourself. You get all pissed off and then a lot of times when I get mad, I'm like, well, you know what? Come on, you just settle down. It's not that serious. So I have to talk to myself sometimes.
You have to do some self-speak.
Yes, like, okay.
Now, what about, because you've been this for me, but you have clearly learned, you guys, I've watched Shirley a lot. I thought she's one of the most giving people I've ever met. in terms of, I mean, we've known Robert, that was our neighbor.
Oh yeah, we
I
helped
couldn't
him a
hardly
lot.
stand him, but Shirley was
I
nice
understand.
and all.
It wasn't
I thought,
easy.
Anyway, I thought, talk a little bit about your journey of what you have gained is with your own threads of light, is what I'm gonna call it. Those that you've reached to, those that have connected with you.
I learned what you give, you get back. If you nasty to people and mean to people, then they disrespect you. But if you're nice or just decent to people, I like to laugh a lot, and I'm really silly, and I notice I gain a lot of friends that way by being myself. My true self is a silly rabbit, just goofy and silly, and I learned that people like to be around people like that. People like to be around happy people, especially this day and age. This world is so corrupt and so bad, and when you can find somebody that likes to smile or be happy, you kind of want to hang out with them sometimes, So,
Yeah.
but I learned that you catch more bees with honey. If you're nasty and mean, you don't get the respect.
I really like that. You catch more bees with honey.
Mhm.
So do you feel like you've had, as you've looked to God, as you've helped other people, as people have helped you,
Yes.
like, what would life be like without that?
Without them or without that?
Without God, without all these people?
Oh God, not very good. Well, I learned. I'm myself 99.9% of the time wherever I go. Sometimes I have to be quiet, because I'm kind of loud. Sometimes I have to like stifle my laughs or giggles or whatever. But I just.
I just thought of something to keep going. Okay.
But wait, what was the question? I'm sorry.
I think just what would life be like without
Oh,
those
like,
connections?
I think life without God wouldn't be good. Life without Jesus Christ and our Savior, I don't think that would. If I didn't know God, I probably still would be okay. But that's just an added bonus, knowing the good Lord. It's just added. It's something that's added to your life. I probably still would be a nice person, or, I have a little temper sometimes with, when people make me feel bad. But what I notice that when I really go there that deep, then I have God to talk to or lean on. So if I didn't have that, maybe I would stay bitter. Maybe I would, because now I don't stay mad that long. Maybe I would stay mad longer if I didn't have God to talk to.
So what's been some of what I'd call some of your happiest moments, like the moments of the greatest light, up and out?
Children.
Talk to them.
Oh my God, kids are. I never had any. I really didn't want any. Well, I did at one time, but I figure the way I feel about my friends' children, my relatives' kids, how my heart is. If it was my own kid, I'd probably be crazier because I love so hard. Kids are so fun and beautiful, and they're innocent. If we can have the mind of a child, they don't, they're not prejudiced. They love you anyway if you treat them nice. But when they grow up in society, that's when they say, oh, I'm not supposed to be friends with you. You don't look like me. But if you keep the mind of a child, and that's my happiest, being around kids. They're so fun. And my family, and, it's two children left out of my grandmother and grandfather. My uncle is 87, and my aunt will be 82 in in another month or so. But family and friends, I love hanging out with Candace, and it's just fun. I just gravitate to good people. And I could tell when they're not good, and I don't.
How do you
It's
know
just
someone's
something
not?
in my mind, in my being. Like when I hug the father that really don't like black people, I don't really care, but I just do it anyway, and I don't dwell on it or anything. And then finally they kind of loosen up. But it's something about when you first meet someone. I don't know. I've been fortunate enough to pick up on it, and they don't stay in my army too long. And God has a way of weeding
it's
people
just a
out.
vibe, is what
It's
you're
a
saying.
vibe, and God has a way of weeding people out in your life too. And you know what? I don't. I have some friends that we don't talk to each other all the time, but we're still cool.
Sure.
You know, I don't. I love everybody, but I don't like everybody. You know, some people you just do not like. You love them, but you just.
You just don't, is that because you don't have a connection with
Yeah,
them? So
yeah, yeah.
You don't share that common whatever that makes
No,
the
you know, I have some friends that I love, but we're on different political spectrums, you know. But they're good people still. They may not think the way I do politically, and a lot of people don't understand that if they're not on my political team, then I don't like them. But I have friends that's, you know, different, but you look at the good parts in them, you know, just because they don't politically think the way I do. It's kind of tough, but they're decent people. They're kind. They're nice. They cook good.
So they feed you. They don't share Okay.
When I'm picking my nose, make sure you take that out of like. No, I'm kidding. Kind of wanted to, but I knew that. No.
Now you can go ahead and pick it if you want to pick it. I'm like, there's tissue. I
have some. I'm joking. I'm being silly, but.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
Shirley, is there anything else just in life that you feel like has helped kind of guide you?
Yeah, I like when I moved to Green Valley, Arizona. I didn't know anyone. People were like, "No," you know. I ended up buying a house without even really living in the city. I just had this vibe about it. I came to visit it in different parts of the like summertime, wintertime, spring, fall, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. But a lot of people said I shouldn't do it. Oh no, don't. Why don't you rent first? So that turned out to be a good decision. You know, I wouldn't have met you if I wouldn't have moved out here. And Candace, you were so cool. When I went to church with Stephanie one time, and you're like, hey, you want to walk with us? I'm like, sure.
That is
And
where we met each
that's
other, wasn't
exactly
it?
where, and thank
Good thing
you
we
for
both
that.
went to church that day.
Yes.
So,
But you've always been an awesome person, and I just gravitated to you. So you got
we
that
do Tai
thing.
Chi together.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
She knows.
yes, yes.
And she
I feel
yeah.
blessed to have met you. So, yes. I would say, why don't you get to know me first? Why don't you, go to lunch with me or ask me questions instead of looking at me? You know, sometimes you look at somebody with the tats and all that and with the shaved head. Those are the people I talk to because they look like sometimes they're receptive. A lot of times they're not, but they're receptive. But, you can't judge a book by its cover. So I would say, why don't you get to know me first before you try to run me over? Or why don't you say hello before you look at me and see my dark skin? And, that's what I would say. Ask me a question.
Have I ever told you we went through this with Zeke? Because he noticed that you're right,
Oh, how
kids
cute.
really are so innocent.
They
You know Zeke.
are.
So we're watching a movie one day, Shirley, and it's the first time
They're
I think
so
he's
cute.
seen a black person.
Uh-huh.
So he's like, "What's that?"
Because he didn't
So
know.
I'm like, "Okay, I have to be really
He hadn't met me
careful
yet, right?
How I respond to this. I said, "That's a beautiful black person."
This was before he met me?
Their neighbors were black, so I guess this didn't go well. So he's got autism, right? So he goes out and he repeats exactly what I told him. Beautiful black person. But what did my sister say? They were a little offended on that. I said they just didn't know Zeke. To your point, they
Well,
just
he's a
didn't know
kid.
Zeke, and they didn't know Zeke has autism.
Yeah.
Right, and they just
Yeah.
didn't know his story. So kind
Yes.
of the same thing for him. it's not skin color. You actually
No,
can't
he just,
tell.
he never, yes.
His brain just doesn't work like your brain and my brain.
Exactly.
Right?
And see, that's what you have to,
Yeah.
you have to figure that out, or either know that. And a lot of times when kids are like that, it's because their parents teach them that. Some
Yeah.
kids, look at me and because their parents say, you stay away from black people. You stay away from Mexicans, whatever.
Kind of funny to me. But
Yes,
yeah.
it's, but
To
that
your
was
point,
cute.
I loved her
He's
advice.
cute. He's cute.
I think you've earned a popsicle here.